So this is a handover for the Swift Select 144. We'll begin at the front of the vehicle with the fuel system. The outer flap isn't controlled by the central locking, so you're just using the ignition key straight in and you can release it like so. When you open up the cab door, at the end of the dashboard on the left hand side, you've got your bonnet release. Below the cab floor under the carpet is the access for your engine battery, and then below the passenger seat you have your access for your vehicle toolkit. To lift the bonnet, there's a latch in the middle, squeeze it up and then you can lift the bonnet through, stay up on one side like so. Over on the left hand side you've got your screen wash and then your brake fluid, power steering and radiator reservoirs, oil filler and dipstick. And then should you need to jump start the vehicle, use the end of the ignition key. It exposes or allows you to expose a small flap just here, like so. And then you can attach your positive onto the end of that paddle, and then the negative goes onto the lift bolt just there. So the freshwater filler cap is on the driver's side of the vehicle. Turn the cap round, hose pipe straight in. There's an alternative 12-volt filler next to it. You can buy a submersible online which can be plugged into this socket, and it can enable you to use a standing water supply and pump the water into that section. Further back, you've got your wastewater tank outlet. The freshwater tank one is on the opposite side of the vehicle. Turn the knob right around and that allows you to then drain that wastewater from your shower tray, from your vanity unit and the kitchen sink straight off. Directly above that, you've got your toilet cassette. The flush waters on these come directly from your onboard fresh water tank. So all you have to do is worry about the cassette itself. As long as the slider is shut internally on the toilet bowl, you should be able to pull up on the orange lever, slide the body of the cassette straight out. You've got the option of a pull-out handle and wheels if you want to roll the cassette across the ground. Otherwise, when you come to empty it, take the grey cap off completely, tip the cassette up, press the orange button near the top, and that should allow any waste to come out of the bottom. Before you reload it, there's a measuring cup inside the top of the cap. Up here in the Highlands, we recommend a green chemical mixed with about 2 litres of water. You can buy sachets that do the same thing. And then slide the cassette back in, and it should lock into position nice and firmly. Yeah, different cap. Your mains hookup's further back. I'd always recommend that you connect to the side of the van first of all. So pull back on the cap cover, locate the side section onto the van, push in, and then having done that, you should be able to then connect up to the main supply for the site. So with the bike rack, firm tug down, make sure you recover your clips. You've then got individual wheel holders which you can slide into position for the wheel units. Take the straps and take those through the hubs. And then you've got crossbar sections which can then go into position to go onto hubs or onto wheel supports like so. So further along the side of the van, you've got your fridge vent. These have got the winter covers on them as well. So at this time of year in cold weather, you might want to leave these on. It improves the performance within the fridge. Certainly if you're storing the van, it stops any muck, any debris from getting into it. For general use though, you'll need to use your fingernails or a 20p piece just to turn these clips away, and that reveals the main vent. Same story with the bottom one as well, and that way you get a proper circulation around the back of the fridge. Under the fridge vents, as already mentioned, with a label marked on it, you've got your fresh water drains. This will drain off your onboard water supply. When you open the sliding door, you've got your electric step, and that opens up like so, and obviously back in, just like that. Little fold up extension to the table. So open it up like so, just make sure both bars are locked into position. and then pull down on each one to allow it to go back into its rest position. When you first come into the van, you've got a 12-volt control panel up above the sliding door. So there is an on-off switch down the bottom left-hand side, which allows you to turn 12-volt systems on and off. It gives you your fresh water and wastewater level gauges on either side and shows the battery voltage, whether you're using the vehicle or leisure battery as well. You can go down through options to show you which vehicle battery is being charged. All right, so in this case, we're showing a charging sequence on there. If there is a solar panel fitted, then there's a solar panel reader. You can select which battery you want to use. On this display here, you can see that they've chosen the vehicle battery, so we'll change that over to the leisure battery. And you'll see a different voltage reading come through. There's the option of using tank heaters on any exposed tanks under the vehicle. They can be turned on and off using the arrow. You'll see the display symbol change and also symbol shown up there. That shows you any amperage limits that you want to set up. Might be useful perhaps if you were travelling to the continent and you wanted to restrict the amount of main supply that you were drawing from a campsite pitch. Internal temperature and back to the voltage, and you can adjust the brightness of the high level airline locker lights as well. Heater settings, you can set up using this control panel. It can work in conjunction with the Truma one. My preference is to use the Truma one, but you can control the temperature settings from there. Same goes for the fridge output for 12 volt. And then you are back to using system settings and setting up any calibrations such as time and dates and clocks before you come back to the front menu where it says the Sargent and the EC620 indicator. On the left-hand side, you've got external awning light, and then the option of adjusting the high-level lights, the dimmer lights from there, and then the master control for 12-volt lighting systems, as well as the water pump, which you would use on demand. Underneath the driver's side passenger bed box, you have got located your EC600 Sargent system. This is controlling both the 12 volt and the main supply into the van. Over on the left hand side, you'll see a system shutdown button. If this has been selected and it's turned off, it prohibits any 12 volt supply coming through from the alternator into the back of the vehicle, but it also shuts down the 12 volt supply entirely at the back. Turn it on, you may well hear a corresponding bleep come from the control panel, and you should be able to reactivate that system. Underneath that, you've got a bank of 12 volt fuses. There's a menu in the handbook, and there's also a menu in the locker space above to show you which fuse is associated to which 12 volt system. Over on the right hand side, you've got your mains RCD switch. I would always recommend that you have the RCDs switched off before you connect to any main supply. Connect up to the side of the van first of all, and then the power supply that you've selected. Pull the end switch up. Do a circuit breaker test by pressing the little blue button in, and it should automatically trip out, like so, and then reset and bring the rest of your grey switches up. You'll see two lights illuminate above. The green one is for the battery charger, which is located next door, and that allows that to go through to your battery selected, typically the leisure battery. If you're going to be using the water heater on mains electric or the room heater on mains electric, then you'll need to have the amber light on accordingly. This one is connected to the Swift command system. There is an app which you can download from Swift, and it enables you to use a smartphone and connect to this van and use those control systems in that way. When you open up the back doors of the van, you'll see your gas locker access. On top of the cylinder, you've got a standard brass nut, and you would turn that clockwise to turn the gas off and anti-clockwise to turn the gas on. Adjacent to that is a crash sensor, so it may well be that when you arrive on site and you turn the gas on, there's no gas flow coming through, so depress down on that green button, hold it down for a couple of seconds, and that allows the gas to go into the pipe. That then feeds through to a regulator, and the regulator also has a gas flow feed on it, so push in on the tab, hold it in for a couple of seconds, and that then allows the gas to go through to the unit. you've got the option of connecting a second cylinder if you wish. There's a lift up panel at the back which you can take out completely, and it gives you access to a hidden storage panel going under the floor. And then over on the right hand side, you've got an access flap for the access to the water heater. The water heater has a manual drain valve on it, so for winter storage this has to be lifted to the vertical position to allow the content of the water heater to drain out and then reset back to a horizontal position, either facing you or facing away from you, to allow the water system to be reprimed. So the heater control system, again, like the Sargent unit, can be connected to your mobile phone, and you can use that control from here. Press the central button and you'll see a range of characters come up along the top line. The first one that comes up is for the room temperature, so select onto that one and you can then turn it up to turn on your supply up to a maximum of 30 degrees centigrade. Whilst the van is heating up, you may well see this flame symbol on the top line begin to flash as it establishes the warmth within the vehicle. When it becomes solid, like it's showing now, then it indicates that the vehicle has reached that temperature setting. It's a similar story for the water heater. You will need to prime the system through, which we'll explain to you later on. But once you have done that, you can then choose a 40, a 60 degree or a boost setting for heating the water up, either via gas, electric, or a combination of both. When it comes to the utility that you want to use, you go on to the third symbol. At the moment it's set in the gas mode, so you could use that perhaps if you were wild camping. If you go on to mains hookup, then you have a choice of electric 1 or electric 2, and these are a 900 and an 1800 watt electric element, and they're dependent on the amperage that might be available for you to use. In colder climates, you can mix both the electric and the gas with the lower electric setting or the higher electric setting if you wish. Doesn't make the system or the van any hotter, but it does allow speeding up of the warmth of both the warm water heater and the room heating system. There is a fan which you can use in conjunction with the room heating system. So you're left in eco mode and it will give you a regulatory circulation, but you can boost it periodically if you require. Alternatively, if you turn the room heating and the water heating system off, like so, and then go back to the fan symbol, you can use it as a recirculation fan. So it comes on to vent mode, you'll see the symbol showing up there, and then you can increase the speed of the fan from that point, and it just recirculates the airflow within the van, perhaps if it's warm or humid. Turn the whole thing back to the 1 position, select it again, turn it off, and it can go back then to being connected to the room heating system. You have a clock which you can set up accordingly to obviously show the normal time, but that in itself can then be used in conjunction with a timer system, which allows you then to access both the water heating and the room heating system and utilize it in that way. And you also have a settings function to allow for the resetting and changing of modes and frequencies within the fan. We're currently plugged into the mains, so there's a mains indicator shown on there as well. In the base of your kitchen cabinets, you have your gas isolator taps. They are color coded, and there is a menu adjacent to it which will tell you which colour is for which item. You can turn the individual taps through 90 degrees and it allows the gas supply to be isolated to that specific appliance if you so wish. If you've recently changed over a gas bottle or you haven't used the gas for a while, it's good practice to establish that you've got gas flow coming through on the hob as the first appliance. Hold it down for a couple of seconds. Do the same with the smaller burner as well, and that allows continuity of gas supply when it comes to setting up other appliances. It's worth noting though that if you bring this lid down over the flame, it will continue to burn and it will cause the glass lids to shatter, so make sure that the appliance is thoroughly cooled before you wrap up and depart. With the water system, we've shown you that you've got to drain the water system down for cold weather use. To reprime it, you would turn on your water pump. You would make sure that the drain valve for the water heater is back in the horizontal in a closed position. Fill up your fresh water tank and then draw the water through the system, and eventually you'll start to get a spurt of water coming out of the cold water taps. Stop that and then go over to the hot water and repeat the process. There might be a longer delay because it's got to prime the hot water tank in the first instance. Once you've got a continuous supply of water coming through those taps, then you can go about using the hot water. And I would repeat that process with the shower and with the vanity unit to make sure that you've got that continuity. For the operation of the grill, use the control valve, use the piezo igniter, a couple of clicks perhaps, and you'll see a nice crisp blue flame reflected from the lower surface, indicating it's operational and working. For the operation of the fridge, you'll need to make sure that the small black switch at the top here is turned on. It should correspond with the interior light coming into position, and then you can then turn up the thermostat to turn the 12-volt supply on. All right, the higher the number, the colder the fridge will become, drawing its energy from the 12-volt and allowing the vehicle, when it's being driven or when it's stationary, to cool down. There is a smaller icebox chamber at the top, and if you fill up this, it will create some ice cubes for you. Silver bowl toilet, so you can maneuver into whichever desired position. For its use, you need to open up the slider, so you push the lever back towards the back of the toilet wall, allow your waste to go straight through. To flush the unit with the water pump switched on, pressing on that one, and it should allow then a jet of water to go around the inside bowl. Close over your lever afterwards, stops any smells or odours from coming back up through. You'll get an indicator light coming on adjacent to this symbol here, telling you when the cassette needs to be emptied. So within the cab area at the front, you've got control buttons on the driver's door. Furthest away from you, you've got your electric mirror controls. You've got a toggle that you can turn to operate each individual mirror, both on the top and the bottom for passenger and driver side, and adjust using the toggle with the power on, and then electric windows and a central locking button on the driver's door. Behind the steering wheel on the right hand side, you've got your rear fog lamps as well as your headlamp beam adjustment for loading within the vehicle. The mode button allows you to get access into functions such as regulating or setting up the devices for measuring your fuel consumption and speed. Wiper controls, down on this one for intermittent, and then down again for a single or a double speed, and then back on the stalk for your rinse. When we move over to the left hand side of the stalk, the top left hand stalk is your indicators and your light switch, and then back again for main beam. And then below that you've got your speed limiter and cruise control settings on there, and you can adapt between the two settings by swiveling the toggle that way and then increasing and decreasing the speed settings on there. When you're starting the vehicle, you need to make sure that the vehicle is in the neutral position and that your foot is on the brake clutch pedal, and then you should be able to start up accordingly. You may well hear blips coming from the control panel if you are still connected to the mains. Driving the vehicle, let the lever go slack and it will go into an auto mode, and you can rise up through the gears as you would do with a traditional automatic. If you move the lever over to the left slightly and let it come back, then you'll see the auto symbol disappear from the control. Central controls within the middle of the dashboard, you've got your ventilation controls, so your speed of your fan on the bottom row and your temperature control around the top. If you are using it during the winter time, then you'll want to have it set onto the outward settings. If you're using it in conjunction with the air conditioning, then turn the dial around to recirculate and then adjust to the direction that you wish to use the ventilation. That button there turns on your air conditioning. Below, you've got heated wing mirrors, so they can be controlled from there. Another central locking button on that section. You've got your hazard light switches in the middle, and you have the ability to turn off the ASR function as well. Worth noting that reverse on this van, pull the lever over and pull back, and you should see a reverse, and you'll also engage your reversing sensors that are mounted into the rear bumper as well. So that concludes the handover for your Select 122. Sincerely hope that the van's going to give you lots of miles and lots of smiles, but if you do need to get in contact with us, then please do. Thank you very much for watching.